Comrade President Jacob Yengeni'S Zuma, the leadership of Yengeni'S, dear comrades, members of Yengeni'S here present, and dear members of the Fourth Estate. I am going to make a very brief statement, and the caption of my statement is my brief journey with President Zuma. The problems of this country are primarily that of leadership. We have leaders who love themselves more than they love their people and country. Yes. But Comrade Jacob Zuma is different. He still stays in his rural village in Kandla, where he originates from. Throughout his adult life, through struggle and sacrifice, he has demonstrated his undying love for his people and country. He has now decided, even at his advanced age, not to retire, but to continue the struggle for social and economic freedom and prosperity of his people until the last of his days. His vision and wisdom continues to shape the nature and content of the current political struggle and contestation in our country today. That vision inspires millions of South Africans to rise and take full responsibility for their own lives, for their own freedom and prosperity. Let me take you back to January 1977. I was a young man then, crossing the border into Lesotho with my brother Norman, who, as you may know, later in life retired as a general in the South African National Defence Force. We were stepping into exile, into uncertainty, into a life of struggle. South Africa was burning after the Soweto uprising of 1976. The regime was brutal. Thousands of young people were leaving the country, determined to join Yengeni'S, the People's Liberation Army. It was there in Maseru that I first met Comrade Chris Hani, a giant and titan of our struggle. Comrade Chris commanded me to stay and assist with the political education of the avalanche of young comrades crossing the border. And so, even before I picked up an AK-47 rifle, I was tasked to be a political instructor, to prepare our youth to understand why we are engaged in struggle and what kind of society we wanted to build. In 1978, I left for Angola for military training. When I graduated from the regular course in guerrilla warfare in 1979, I took my oath in front of President Oliver Tambo himself. President Tambo gave our detachment the singular honor of naming it the Isandlwana Detachment. Our detachment was named after that great battle where our forefathers and warriors fought bravely with only spears and shields to defeat a British garrison using superior weapons. Exactly 100 years before, in 1879. In that same year, OR declared the year 1979 the year of the spear in honor of those Isandlwana warriors and many other martyrs that had made the supreme sacrifice during our liberation struggle. Thereafter, I, together with other comrades, were chosen to undergo a commander's course. That commander's course was carried out by Soviet instructors from the Red Army. After completion, I was sent to Moscow to the Lenin School. This was an international ideological school with cadres from all continents in the world. It was there that my political and ideological consciousness was sharpened and deepened. Just before graduation, Comrade Chris and Comrade Slovo came to see us at the Lenin School. They told me that I was not going back to Angola. From Moscow, I was to be deployed in Lesotho. The apartheid regime had threatened the then Lesotho Prime Minister, Liabua Jonathan, with invasion unless Chris was removed from Lesotho. Chris was removed from Lesotho by the ANC and redeployed to Mozambique, and I was sent to Maseru to continue with his work. I became the SACP regional convener and became part of the ANC political military command. It was in Lesotho that I came to work closely with Comrade Jacob Zuma. In December 1982, the South African Defence Force launched a bloody raid on Maseru. 42 people, our comrades, including Lesotho citizens, were slaughtered in cold blood. The world would come to know it as the Maseru Massacre. The United Nations condemned it, but for us and the bereaved families, it was extremely traumatic, emotional, and personal. After the massacre, President Tambo sent Comrade Zuma to Maseru. His task was to help us organize the mass burial and manage the difficult political environment. I watched him work calm, methodical. It was Zuma who ran the operation for the sudden electrifying appearance of OR on that very morning of that burial. Of course, the masses went wild seeing their beloved leader, OR, in person after such a long time in exile. Imagine the courage it took to bring OR into a war zone like that, and then just as suddenly spirited him out and have him appear safely in Lusaka that very night. That is Zuma. Quiet, resourceful, reliable, trustworthy. From that time onwards, Comrade Zuma was often deployed to Lesotho by OR and the Revolutionary Council. His job was to manage the sensitive relations between the ANC and the Lesotho government. And so from those days in the Mountain Kingdom, through tragedy and resistance, he and I forged a bond that would carry us into the democratic era. Then in Parliament, I served as Chief Whip of the ANC. Comrade Zuma was Deputy President and leader of government business. And Comrade Frene Chinwala was Speaker. May her soul rest in peace. Every Monday morning, the three of us met in the Speaker's office to coordinate our parliamentary program. Different times, different arena, same comradeship. History has its triumphs. The so-called arms deal was one of them. Both of us were dragged into it. We were the only two senior leaders charged. I was convicted in the so-called card discount case, which was politically motivated and thoroughly shameful in the manner it was handled. They even sent me to prison. Guess who came to Mamasbury prison to visit me? Comrade Jacob Zuma. Deputy President of the ANC, that solidarity cut very deep. Later, they went after Zuma himself, charging him with the arms deal. a case that has been hanging over his head for more than 2 decades. Justice delayed is justice denied. The fact that that trial drags on today is a serious travesty of justice. And it shows how the justice system can be manipulated and abused. By 2007, at the much talked about Bulugwane conference, Comrade Zuma was contesting for the presidency of the ANC. I was proudly leading from the front in support of Msholozi. That conference was not about politics only. It was about ensuring that the ANC remains the champion of the aspirations of the poorest of the poor. Msholozi won that conference hands down. He did not buy that conference. That conference and its outcomes was an open expression of the democratic will of the vast majority of ANC delegates. Fast forward, when the Concord decided to throw Comrade Zuma to prison without a trial, I was one of those outraged thousands of the masses that descended upon Inkandla to declare our contempt, our indignation, and rejection for that Concord verdict, and our overwhelming unrelenting support and solidarity with Comrade Zuma. Even when Msholozi later formed Umkhonto Wesizwe, our bond endured. When the ANC took disciplinary action against him, Msholozi called upon me to represent him before the DC. I readily agreed. In moments of crisis, a true leader turns to those he trusts most. Till today, I remain a regular visitor. Till today, I remain a regular visitor to his homestead in Inkandla. We sit together, we deliberate, we debate the crisis our country is facing, searching for ways to resolve them. The bond we forged in exile, in Angola, in Moscow, in Lesotho, in parliament, in prison, continues to this day. That bond was forged in the crucible of struggle. We have shared in victories and endured humiliations. We have been tested by fire. We have been through the eye of the needle. From time immemorial, outstanding individuals have and do contribute in the making of history. And those outstanding personalities have to be acknowledged and celebrated during their lifetime. Yet to be truly great, leaders must at all times assert their primacy, pledge their loyalty, and serve the organized will of the masses of our people. This struggle for social and economic emancipation, led by MK and other black political organizations, is not about me or yourself, or anyone for that matter. It is about the heart and soul of the land of our ancestors and its people, the People's Republic of South Africa. Glory and dignity, the glory and dignity of South Africa and its people, and among other nations, must and will be restored. South Africa and its people must and will be free. Amandla.
Gwaza mkhonto gwaza. As I said before, I called the second deputy president up. There won't be any questions for the second deputy president today. That time will come, not today. With that, let me welcome Deputy President Dr. John Hlophe, Mandagayis. We're now going to give the members of the media an opportunity to ask questions. and we will then call upon the leadership to respond to those questions accordingly. So with a show of hands, we will take the first 5 and then so on. You already know the tradition by now. So where do we go? First hand there, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let's start with the first question. Name, surname, and the media outlet that you represent, please. Thanks.
My name is Velen Pungura. I work for independent media. Now, if I have an opportunity, or if I have an opportunity, I would have asked Mr. Yengeni'S whether he has done from the ANC. But now that we can ask this question, so I would have it handy. So my question is that, okay, now, thanks for the address. Some of the questions have been answered, but one of them, I want to know whether, or maybe I wanted a comment from the president about the court ruling in Pretoria, so that ordered him to pay back 28 million. So I want to comment on that. What is the view of the party and the president, right? Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Londi Wekumete. I'm a freelance journalist. I work for Zuma FM and many other media houses. My question is to the president of Umkhonto weSizwe. Bab Zuma, are you going to pay back the money? If you are going to pay back the money, how are you going to pay it? Any plans or measures in place to pay back this money? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Ngosi Konamalinga Mesi. I'm with ENCA. I've been partly covered by my colleagues on some of the questions, but perhaps to the issue of this latest announcement of Mr. Yengeni'S as the second deputy president of the organization. I mean, the president could have chosen anyone else, but perhaps can we just get an understanding what informed the decision, one, of having the second role, in as much as it's been said that Dr. John Hlophe will focus on the duties of Parliament, but really what necessitated it, perhaps a broader explanation and elaboration on the two different roles and what their duties will essentially then entail, and perhaps any other reason beyond what we've been told. The second question pertains to issues around the sort of bodies established to investigate the allegations by General Mkhwanazi. The party has been against the establishment of the Madlanga Commission, but quite interestingly, and you've conceded to it in your own statement, you are in support of the ad hoc committee looking into the very same allegations. Has your position changed? Because it appears as if the Madlanga Commission is giving us an in-depth sort of aspect of these allegations and where they stem from and what we're really looking at. So has your perspective changed on the Madlanga Commission? Are you perhaps continuing to challenge its establishment and all of the other side aspects to it? For now, I'll rest there. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sesha Mapuso. I'm a freelance journalist. It's a slightly different question. I want us to focus on child politics. The politics was. Thank you. It's a slightly different question. It's more about the politics of KwaZulu-Natal. And the NK party Operation Zuma confirmed that indeed they're in talks with the ANC to co-govern KwaZulu-Natal. And if yes, how will the arrangement look like? How many positions will go to the MK party, and how many positions will go to the ANC? Thank you.
Was that the last question? I thought you guys were going to ask serious questions. Asking us about 28 million rand. But nonetheless, the first question that came from Willem Pungoda, were they asking President pertaining to the 28 million rand judgment that was handed down yesterday. I guess everyone is asking and wanting to know if you're going to pay back the money and how we're going to handle it as a party. President? What is called Zuma?
Thank you very much, When the matter was discussed, I was not here, I was abroad. I'm going to be meeting my lawyers to say where do we take the matter. So I can't be answering because I was not there. We have made an arrangement to meet with my lawyers to take that matter forward. And that matter will be handled. You'll get to know then at the time as to what is our approach to that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Is there a sound problem?
Yes.
So you can't, am I not audible?
No, we've lost all the audio.
Not at all. So, do you want me to repeat what the President said?
We just want to find a mic that works.
Where's the other mic?
You.
Is this one better? Can you hear me? Can you hear me though? Can you hear me at the back? Let me ask the question. I keep saying, can you hear me? You're fine. Okay.
Yeah, now something happened.
Oh, the cameras are not picking up the audio from the feed. Indeed, Baba, it's not. The President, in his response, said that when the judgment in this matter was unfolding, he was overseas. The Russia troop that was mentioned. And that when he then landed, and upon hearing the outcome of this judgment, he then called upon his legal team, and he will then engage with his legal team in due course. At that point, Mkhonto Sizwe and the President will respond in terms of what the way forward is. That was the President's response. Okay. And I think, Londi, you're from Voma, your question has also been answered, effectively. Because you asked, are we going to pay the money back? So that has been addressed. It's answered. Third one, Nkosi Corner, ENCA. Why do we have a second deputy president? And you wanted us to unpack the role more than we've actually, so National Chair, they want us to expatiate on that role. So I'll call upon the National Chair to further articulate the roles. National Chair.
Bani? Nkosi khona. Oh. Corner, I think that question has been adequately responded to, both in the statement in terms of, for an example, let me give you a practical example. The president is now 2 days back in the country because of the work assignments at an international level. I think in the next day or two, he's also leaving the country. Now, what is being put across simply is this, is that at a practical level, he's becoming more consumed by international work, and therefore you need a second deputy president to focus on the internal matters and the workings of the organization on an ongoing basis. And that the first deputy president focuses largely, because he's the leader of NK as the party in parliament, that he focuses on that particular front. Now, so if you ask as to what is it that necessitated the appointment, I don't know what more can be said except just simply this particular factor, which is more of the material circumstance as it faces the organization. Now, I'm sure somebody is going to respond on the question Kamadlanga Commission. The only issues I want to deal with, I don't know who asked whether we are going to go oh. Okay. Now, I will also deal with that question, but I'm sure you know a statement was issued on the question of our position with regards to the Madlaga Commission. Now, but what I want to deal with are broadly the governance matters that are facing this country, relating to exactly that work, the Madlaga Commission, as well as the other committee work in Parliament. I think as ordinary people we should be concerned that this country is getting more commissioned, and it's in the manner in which it's being governed. Everything. Should something happen, no, we'll set up a commission to investigate this and so on. Now, there is a style of doing things which is commonly referred to as filibustering. In a sense, this is what we're beginning to witness. Instead of decisions being taken at a decisive level to deal with issues, no, you opt not to do that. You must set up a commission. The commission must tell you the exact thing that you know. It only gives you time, you know, to play around with and so on. For instance, you can have the Madlanga Commission as you have it today. 6 months later, a decision will not be taken. There will be a possible extension for the commission to exist and so on. So, we are therefore going to have quite a stretch of time in hearing things out, but decisions are not being taken. It's the same thing that we witnessed with the political gimmick called the Zondo Commission. Something that's set for, I think, over a year, if I'm not mistaken. And still up until today, you don't have decisions taken around the question of whatever transpired at that particular level and so on. So the likelihood, because part of the problem in this country is that you have all the instruments in place that enable you at the level of government to be able to take decisions. No, you don't do that. You set up a commission that arrives at recommendations, but you also opt out as government to implement those particular recommendations. And I think we should be extremely worried about this, because a straightforward matter such as the one that the Madlanga Commission is dealing with, there are various institutions and instruments within the state that can easily deal with those particular matters and put them to finality. But instead, we are being treated to a particular show which is likely to drag on for quite some time. And I think we should be worried about these kinds of developments. But I would ask people that dealt with the issue of the statement around the Madlanga Commission to restate what our position is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
Just on what Ustado has said, as the media, why are you not questioning what government is doing, not putting things correctly as they are? Why are you not querying that if we are to say South Africa is what we want it to be? As he has just said, there are accusations, instead of those accusations taken to court or whatever, there are judges. Even when we said the manner in which we dealt with the elections were wrong, we put a case up to this day has not been taken to court. Why are you not questioning these things? That's a question towards you guys who are supposed to help us.
President, it's selective questioning.
That question is directed to Ngo's Corner.
Ngo's Corner. ENCA. I think the issue of the Madlanga Commission has been dealt with, but I think if you recall, the Madlanga Commission was announced at the time after General Mkhwanazi made the pronouncement and made the allegations. Where at that point in time, we called upon the president to fire the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, because there was prima facie evidence that linked him to criminality. That is the basis at which this whole process started. We then stated that we're not necessarily against the Madlanga Commission, we're against how it was actually formed and the basis at which it was formed, which we said it was for political patronage. He should have fired his friend, instead he puts him on a leave of absence. That is the basis at which we are raising concerns as a party that is official opposition that is responsible in parliament. That why should there be money spent of 148 million? And the fact that, by the way, the chief evidence leader, Terry Mutau himself, who has now stepped down, raised concerns about the money allocation. That alone should tell you that Mkhonto Wesizwe is correct in its stance. The other point that we need to make is that if you look at the current members of the commission, these are the same chief evidence leader from the Marikana Commission. Justice Madlanga himself was the chief evidence leader in the Marikana Commission. You look at Ceci Baloy, she was the evidence leader on the police side. Justice Charlestonson was under Madlanga, Marikana Commission. Same players are now in the Madlanga Commission. You read between the lines. So we're just saying that there is no need, when you have an ad hoc committee in parliament that can hold the executive to account for South African taxpayers' money to be spent the way that it is, especially in the manner that it was brought about. Not to say we're against the Madlanga Commission. Let's bring that clarity. Okay? Thanks. The other question from Sihle Mavuso. They must answer your question. They have not answered your question. So Ngozi Corner, President asked you a question. Where is the President? There he is. The President asked you a question. The mic, he wants to hear your response. Oh, nabanye. Nanenbuzi.
All right. Thank you very much for the question. I've got many colleagues in the room, but I'll just briefly say in answering, I think our industry is doing a stellar job at the job at which we are tasked to do. We go above and beyond in delivering on what we're supposed to deliver in a fair manner. And I think many of our colleagues will attest to that. And I think we always come under scrutiny and attack, but we take it in a very professional manner. And I think that's where I'd like to leave the response at. Thank you.
It's Londi Wekumete again. The question is directed to the President.
Sorry, just one last element. And I also think when we look at, for example, the issue around the allegations of what within our criminal justice system, much would not be known if it wasn't for some of our colleagues in this industry.
No. Don't be tricky. Don't be tricky. The question is very clear. Why are you not challenging the wrong thing which is being done? Simple. Don't talk about how much educated the answer is.
Well, Mamalala, the simple answer is we are challenging. You and I, we can have a sit down, we can arrange to sit down and unpack the question.
You asked questions here. We answered you. We are asking a question from you. Answer it. Simple.
They clearly can answer, President. We'll give them a time. But, President, the one question we should ask him from ENCA is that they came to Nkandla just before the elections and they did an interview. They spent 2 hours with you. I was in that interview. Till today, they have not played your interview. They must answer why.
That's the second question.
They have still sealed our interview with President Zuma. What was the next question? Yes, indeed. So there was the Sihle Mavuso asked a question. So Londio, before we come to, let's just engage with Sihle. Sihle's question was around KZN and the governing of KZN.
Thank you very much.
No, I was going to say, they must answer all the questions, they must answer and then come back to this one.
We're coming back to this one.
Thank you very much. Just a recap. Is the MK party in talks with the ANC to cope up with KwaZulu-Natal? If the answer is yes, how many seats will go to the ANC? How many seats will go to the MK party? And again, have you also engaged the EFF, considering that there is a fallout between the two political parties at national level? Thank you.
I'll call upon the SG to respond to that. I don't know which fallout you're talking about, because we have a progressive charter that we've signed in Parliament. But in any case, that's what you're reading into it.
All right. Good morning to you all. Thank you, Mavuso, for your question. I think before I respond to your question directly, we have to remember that Umkhonto weSizwe is probably the first political organization or movement that registered phenomenal growth within 5 months. As such, it's been a very, very rough but fast pace that we've been moving at Then we decided to embark on a strategy, define it properly, that will take us to a landslide victory in 2026 local elections, and then 2/3 majority in 2029. All of these things have necessitated the relook of our organization. It's not just a movement, but now it's got to be an corporate structure, an organization that has got trusted systems and processes. Part of that process has to be to beef up the human capital, the intelligence, the experience, the expertise of the cadres that we have at a higher structure. That's one of the reasons we have Ukomle Tutoni. And it's in line with your question, Mavuso. Looking at how we want to go to 2026 and 2029, we have taken a deep look at how we will be positioning ourselves. We have then charted a new theme called "We are poised to take power and govern." Sikulungele ukubusa. And we said, why not start with KZN? Hence, we won this province, we believe, with 2/3 majority. But we were told that we won it with only 45%. The question is, why are we being governed by people that got 14%, 18%? We have